Night together. On the piano, of course, the late Brian Jones.
Brian.
I always felt very sorry for Brian. He was two things. He was not very nice, and he upset people very easily. He wasn't very pleasant, I mean.
He was just gone. Well, he wouldn't turn up half the time. When he did turn up, it was not in any condition to do anything, to baby him. No, it was very sad.
I think he liked drinking, I think he liked drugs, but they weren't very good for him. I don't think they're good for anyone, but he wasn't strong enough mentally or physically to take any of it, and of course he did everything. Brian was one of those people that did everything to excess.
What we did a flavour, but his involvement in the band dwindled.
Keith and I took drugs, but Brian took too many drugs of the wrong kind, and he wasn't functioning as a musician. I don't think he was that interested in contributing to the Rolling Stones anymore. You certainly didn't know if he was going to turn up and what state he was going to be, and then what was he going to be able to do in that state? What job could you give him?
It was very important to us, the fact that we were going to go back out on the road behind a new record, that we resolved this thing with Brian. So Mick and I had to go down and sort of tell Brian virtually, like, hey, Cock, you're fired. Yeah, the fact that he was expecting it made it kind of easier, I guess. You know, he wasn't surprised, and I didn't really even think he took it all in. He was already up in the stratosphere, you know. It was kind of like, hey.
We didn't even expect him to be there. If he turned up, we'd find something for him to do. Yeah, I'll ask him, you know, you got anything, you know, what do you think about this? You want to put something over this? But no, by then he was already in, bye-bye land.
Yeah, but there was no serious way that we can consider going on the road with Brian. So that was, but at the same time, nobody expected it to happen just like that.
Fame doesn't sit very comfortably on anyone's shoulders. But some people's shoulders doesn't seem to sit on at all, and he was one of them. And I don't think it suited him.
But within a very short amount of time, another guy was coming out, a Mimi, starter, and somebody you didn't suspect lurked in there, and this guy got bigger and bigger as the years went by, and also became more self-destructive. Now, I'm one to talk about that, right? But I'm still here, you know.
You just have that feeling that they're not going to be 70 years old ever, you know. Not everybody makes it, you know.
And Brian went for it all the way, and once he was down that path, man, there's no stopping him.
He got much nicer just before he died, you know, the last few years of his life, but I felt even sorrier for him for what we did to him then. We took his one thing away, which was being in a band. That's my opinion.
And then one time when we sat around on the floor, we played in a circle, playing No Expectations. And he picked up the guitar and played a very pretty lines on it, which you can hear on the record.
8. To be a pop star. I enjoy it, with reservations, but I'm not really sort of satisfied, either artistically or personally.
You know, when I think about it with Brian, when we were slogging away with no recognition, just doing what we're doing, you know, and quite enjoying it, but with no great ambitions or anything, he was a great guy.
Let's face it, the future as a Rolling Stone is very uncertain.
I remember Mick and Keith saying, you know, we can't go on like this, we need another guy. And we did need somebody else.
You remember what happened that day when we went over there?
No, can't remember. But I remember it wasn't very nice.
Yes,
was a very, very difficult decision to make. This is someone that you spent the beginning of the band with, and I mean, it was horrible. We said to Brian, look, this isn't working out, and he sort of said, yes, it isn't, and it was very sad. And I felt awful afterwards. I remember that. I felt really terrible. He was the author of his own misfortunes, really. But when you look back on it now, you think, well, surely we could have done something. You know, there's something more than just that.
We were working in the studio with Jimmy Miller.
And someone came in and said, Brian's just died.
Everybody just looked at each other and go, finally. It was almost like it was bound to happen, one way or another.
It was a horrible moment. And I don't know how many months later that was from when we went down to see him. He died.
About midnight, Jones went for a swim with his Swedish girlfriend, Anna Volin, and another friend, Mr.